All right, Ross Brand. Welcome, 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 as Jill would say.
Hey, Rebecca, how are
Hey,
you?
hey, I'm fabulous. Welcome, everybody, to Stone Fruit Roll Up Day 35 of having a
Wow.
live show. I could not move forward without bringing you to the table. So I appreciate so much that you were willing to come on board and be a part of the show about making the show that you're watching
Well,
right now.
I like to talk about live streaming and what goes into it and how to do it and all that stuff. So, what could be better than to build a live streaming show live, which is something you'd think more people might have tried, but you really haven't seen a lot of this yet.
I I am kind of a noob, as you know. I'm a babe in the woods. I mean, it was like try live streaming. Well, okay, I'm happy to do it, but it just makes sense to me. Why wouldn't you live stream the production meetings? So, the struggle for me, Ross Brand, has been to not talk about the show when we're not live. So, people want to kind of move forward with it, and I have to be like, I can't. Even the last time we were on the phone, I'm not listening. I'm not listening.
Right, right.
We got to save this all for the show. So I'm super excited that you came and just like spontaneously, we're willing to just throw caution to the wind and jump in the guest chair and be a part of what we're trying to make here.
It
Because
sounds like a lot of fun, and I think it's great that you're creating content while you're planning to create content.
it kind of seemed like, why not? Why?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like throwing out. If you anybody out there who makes homemade bread, you don't throw out the potato water because it makes great bread. So let's consider this the potato water of what makes a yeasty, crusty, delicious live show. That made no sense. Um, Tony told me to can it with the restaurant analogies, but I just cannot help it. So here we are. Ross, I got a couple struggles here that I'm hoping you'll
Okay.
help me kind of unpack here. I am hoping that what will happen in this hour long quality conversation is we will address what is the role I want to talk about hosting. What's the role of a host and what makes a good host? You're incredible in meetings and stuff because you remember who everybody is, what their projects are, where their minutes are. You got your eyes on the comments. You bring a real broadcasting background to the table, like I've never seen before. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about kind of like what live streaming shows, what makes it good, why would anybody watch one, and what's the future of live streaming, which I predict is 100. You've got a new project coming up that's your own live streaming project, so I want to talk about that too. And then I'm begging you to help me figure out what the show is about.
Okay.
Begging you. So let's
Sounds
start.
good. That's
Eh,
an ambitious agenda. Let's get at it.
okay, awesome. What one thing I've always noticed about you, well, first of all, I just want to share that what made me fall in love with you totally was that you showed me the power of live stream is the ability to record something one time originally without all of the bells and whistles of scripting and all the lift that goes into starting something that's from a recorded standpoint. So do it one time, do it live, and then you have the video files, you have the audio files. You can make a podcast, you can make short form content, you can make medium form content, you can do all these amazing things with it. So that's why I have always been enchanted with both you and live streaming. Why do you like it so much?
Well, you just answered the question. I mean,
All right, next topic.
no, there's a couple things. One is the live experience is different than recording. You have I don't care whether you have one person watching or a million people watching. You have that live connection with your audience feels different than a pre-recorded audience. You pre-recorded when you're doing a recording, you have to really put yourself in the mindset of speaking to somebody and delivering to somebody. When you're live, you know that there's probably somebody out there that you're communicating to. Um,
Hopefully.
Yeah, and so there's a different energy, and with a chat, you get feedback, and it's something that's like, look at all the people who are here already, and we just started, and all the comments that are in the chat on different platforms. So you've got people watching on YouTube, you've got people watching on LinkedIn, and that's what makes it different. You get that real-time feedback, and somebody in the chat knows more about something that we're going to talk about than you or I do. Somebody knows you better than I do. Somebody knows me from somewhere. Like, there'll be things that come up that are unexpected, and how you handle that can really enhance a show. And that's one of the strengths of live streaming that every other type of medium where you're doing audio or video doesn't have that real time interaction, engagement, and just connection to the audience.
So you're saying that this is a real two-way conversation, or even a multifaceted conversation that's happening in real time, and that the kind of the human experience of it is what's really exciting to you?
I think so. I mean, I think when you look at all the different types of communication, right? You have radio, you have TV, you have podcasting, you have blogging. Where are you getting this real time feedback and the ability in the middle of a show to just adapt to something or bring in a question that somebody who's not one of the two of us can recommend? And it doesn't mean that you have to be zoned in on the chat or reading every comment or putting every comment on the screen, but it's there, and the feedback is real, and you're aware of it, and you're aware of the people that are there. It's a different experience, and it's really, really cool.
That's unlike anybody I've ever heard describing it, and your passion is palatable, which is awesome. How do you remember? I know you come from a broadcasting background, and you have this amazing ability to, like, really kind of address everyone in the room while it's happening in real time, plus the comments and the things and the production. How do you remember how to do all that stuff? And is that what makes a good host, or is what makes a good host something different?
I guess I remember because I'm interested in people, and when I have people on my show or I have them in my book or whatever, I remember their bio. Like, I often joke I can do somebody's bio off the top of my head faster than they can do it themselves. I know. Here's what it comes down to. I know why I'm inviting somebody on a show, why I'm asking them to join a network, why I'm inviting them to participate in my book. I know what makes them special, unique. At least I think I do. That, and so that's where it becomes easy to remember. A lot of people start with what's the name of the guest, what their title is, and okay, that's what I'm going to promote. I start with why do I want to talk to this person, and what can they offer my audience, and the other things are like the icing on the cake. But you'll remember those things as you promote them. Maybe it's just
Like
I have
with
a good mem.
practice?
Maybe it's just I have a good memory. I don't know. I mean, I grew up watching sports, and like could remember the lineups of teams and their stats, and things like that. I mean, so that was kind of a training ground for it. I was a history major in college, so had to remember, all the details of the French Revolution. Now I don't even know why there was a French Revolution, but while I
There's
was,
another one happening right
yeah,
now.
while I
So
was majoring in history, I could recite the whole. I could write for 4 hours in a row in a test, on all the details. So
you got a memory for it, but I also think that you embody this really interesting approach that Tony taught me, which is, if you want to be interesting, then you have to be interested, or you should be interested. And you seem to be very interested. You know what people's special sauce is, you understand how to curate the conversation, you're interested in what folks are doing. So I think that makes you super interesting. But
Well, I
go
think
ahead.
the most important skill for an interviewer is listening. I
And for a
don't.
marketer,
Yeah, I mean, I do not, and I'm not recommending this for people just starting out, but I don't have a list of questions in front of me when I interview somebody. I usually, if you look at my desk, it's pretty much blank. And I have experience from radio, which is good because when I covered sports and radio, I didn't know who I was going to interview at the end of the game, and sometimes I didn't really know anything about the person. So I had to do it on the fly. So I certainly, somebody that I know or that I'm familiar with or that I've had a week to know is coming on my show, I can mentally have an idea about where I want the conversation go, but then I listen and I determine, where we're going to go next and based off of what they say.
we've got that amazing experience. I started off this process not writing any notes because I really like conversations that take whatever turn they're going to take. And I have great success in a Zoom call or on a panel or being a guest on a podcast or a public facing situation to talk on the fly. But what was happening in these early episodes is that the show had no structure. And I got a pro tip from Paul about identifying kind of what you're going to talk about at what point in the show and giving it some structure. You can't assume that everybody's going to watch it until the end. So then I went back, and to prepare for this one, I did write notes down. I did write questions, but not a full, like, just so I would remember and stay focused. But this doesn't feel natural to me to have
Right.
notes and to be like, for the first 25 minutes, we're going to talk about this. And the second, we're going to talk about that. So that feels awkward. And I don't know if I just need to kind of force myself into that framework, or I need to go with my gut, but I need more practice so it's not so all over the place.
You have to
That's a
do you
question to
do
you.
you do you whatever works best for you. I mean, some people work best with a script, and they do, let's say they do a podcast, they may script every single word.
I
And
think
then
you can tell when it's scripted.
other people do best when it's off. There are people who can read scripted stuff and make it almost sound like they're doing it live without any notes. There are other people who, like myself, don't use any notes, but don't look at the camera as much as I probably should, which comes from, years of doing radio and not thinking that anybody's looking at me when I'm talking. And so I often forget to look at the camera as much as I should. That's my weakness, one of my weaknesses in doing this. But I think where you're at, like, you're doing you, and you have a natural personality, you have an enthusiastic personality, you have a great command of your material, you engage with the people who are there. So I mean, I think the show is already, like, it's Rebecca is the show and the show is Rebecca. Now just, how are you going to manage the little details?
Well, man, I appreciate that feedback, Ross, but it doesn't feel like that to me. I don't feel natural. I feel like I feel like when you and I just sit down and shoot the shit, that banter and quality of conversation is something I am always like, oh, why I wish we were recording that. It's so powerful. But now that I've got this like little tiny dot I'm talking to, like you said about the camera,
Mm-hmm.
I feel more canned and more kind of nervous and more short and less like my natural like sticky self. So I'm keep trying to find my personality here on this camera for sure. I have a lot of anxiety that I'm not doing it right. Whatever doing
No.
it right is.
I mean, I think this conversation, because you've been on other shows and you've been really good, but I would say that this conversation, this is more like what we would do offline, isn't it? Doesn't this feel
Yeah.
more that way?
And more than anybody else I've had on the fruit roll up so far.
So I think just the repetition, as you do this more, you'll start thinking more about the conversation, losing yourself in that, and less about, okay, it's a presentation, or am I in series 1 or set 2 or question 5, or you know what I mean? Like,
Am I paying
because
attention to the comments? Am I
right.
listening? Am I interested? Am I
Yeah,
interesting?
Forget all that. Just you're you, and people are here for you. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your show, and people are here for you, and it doesn't matter so much who your guest is or what your topic is. This is they'll or even the title of your show, right? When I say what did you do today? Oh, I was a guest on Rebecca's show. Yes, I may remember Stone Fruit Roll-Up. I may remember what we talked about or what you're trying to do, but it's Rebecca's show. And as time goes on, you'll step more and more into being you, and it'll be more of a seamless transition from on camera to off camera.
That's encouraging. Ross, give me a note. What's one thing I should start doing, and what's one thing I should stop doing based on what you've seen so far in the last couple weeks?
Um, I'd say you just have to just really be more Rebecca. Like
Agreed.
most people go two ways with this. Either they put on some false personality, or they overstep themselves and like that show is here and I don't know who I am, so I'm screaming for some reason.
That's hilarious.
So they say, like, with radio, TV, it's like you are who you are, but a little bit more. So you sometimes tamp down who you are, and I think just being consistent that way. Obviously, you're certain unprofessional jokes and things you might not bring, but in general, being who you are is what's going to win over the long haul, because people are here, people in the chat, they're here for you. They're here to see you, and that's the same whether you were giving a speech in person, you were hanging out at a coffee shop, or you're doing your show here on live video.
Well, while that feels really good to hear, I want to still make sure I'm giving the children what they want. Want a good show. I don't want to make this a thinly veiled sales pitch every time you watch it. I don't want to come across like all I can do is funnel you into some sort of sales cycle when that feels inauthentic. So part of me is torn in that what I'm told and advised to do is to create a show for more business visibility that shows the work and shows my personality and gives, and expands an audience. What I want to do is make something really quality that people will want to watch, not just the Rebecca Gunter show.
And that can drive audience to your site and to your business as well. Like if they're well entertained and they know that you know what you're talking about, or they feel they've built a relationship with you through the chat or through just getting to know what your show is and what you talk about, and they find value in that, when they need somebody who provides copywriting services, provides business coaching, branding, all the different things that you can bring, then they're going to go, oh, that Rebecca's great. I've been watching her show for a while. Let me go to her website, and so you don't have to be putting it out there.
I agree. I think that that's a natural form of it, but I get a lot of pushback on like not selling myself enough, not pushing people to a funnel, not, being like, well, in my work with high touch, high ticket clients doing very serious work, this conversation came up. That's what kind of where people are being funneled into. And I just don't know how that's watchable for more than one time.
Well, I don't know that it fits the theme of the show. I mean, if you have all the answers and putting the show together is exactly what you do with your clients, then you don't need me here. It's like you're here and your guests are here, and this process, whether you're solo or with a guest, is all about working out what you're going to do in a live show, which isn't what you're doing in your business. Your business is different. Like this is a a kind of a new experience for you. So why would you always be talking about your business unless it relates? Now, that doesn't mean you can't have a call to action at the end, like, hey, if you enjoyed this show, check out my website. I offer blah, 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 or not. I mean, it really, I don't think in this show, because it's so pull back the curtain, that it would make sense to be doing advertising, so to speak, for your business in the. Thanks, Ross, for that information on how to build the show. And by the way,
and by the way, back
are
to
you
me.
on my email list?
Yeah, enough about you. Back to me. Enough about me. What do you think of me?
Right.
Well, that's an excellent point, except for the show isn't anything right now except for how to build a live show or how to step out of your comfort zone and do something creative that you've never done before. There is no, I don't even know what it is yet. When you say people on my show that I interview, that would be an easy get for me. I have a great network. Obviously I can have quality conversations. People say yes to me. Fantastic. Thank you, universe, for that kind of karma. But I'm also kind of sick of interview shows and feel like it's just like they've been there, done that, and it doesn't have any innovation or any like breath of fresh air to me. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think interview shows are a little played out, or is there a blend, or kind of what's maverick, what's cutting edge, what's on the
Yeah.
lead for live shows? Because I've seen the interview shows for like the last 10 years. Not that they're not valuable. It's awesome to see a subject matter expert and a subject matter expert come together and discuss something, and I always get something out of it, but I'm also not excited by it anymore.
Right. And most of the time the format is the same. Start the show, interview my guest, introduce the guest, bring the guest on, ask the guest a series of questions that they've been asked in every other interview, and thank the guest and promote something and get out. And so that formula has been so repeated that it's. Listen, I watched a show like that last night, and it was phenomenal. I mean, the guest was such an amazing communicator with such wonderful experience and stories and everything. So yes, it can still work. It's still conversation. It's still communication that we can enjoy. But not every show has to be that, and you have to look at what are the strengths of live streaming? Like, what can live streaming do that radio or TV can't do? And that's or a pre-recorded podcast. And that's the thing a lot of people don't think of, right? They're trying to be radio or TV, or they're trying to be a video version of a podcast. And there's nothing wrong with being a video podcast, by the way. But what is unique about live streaming? Unique about live streaming is you can give people access to you in a way you can't in a 10 camera studio with lights and perfect everything and whatever. You can bring people into your home. You can bring them into your office. You can take them with you as you walk through an interesting city. You can take them to an event behind the scenes. You can bring them into your speaking gig. You can do so many different things that just really don't work in the same way on the format of radio or TV, or even have that same intimacy that you would have in a podcast. And you can actually talk to people. Like, I go live before, let's say I do
That's your favorite, man on the street. That's your favorite.
I mean, that there's no other format that you can replicate where you're just hosting and because I don't have a team to prep on where I'm going or what I'm doing, or, hey, this camera's got to follow this path, or, I need you to have this ready at this time. I can just do whatever is happening in the moment when I'm walking down the street or through an event or giving a tour of a place or taking people behind the scenes. It's like, yeah, there's spontaneity and there's access that just the other formats aren't set up for. So I know this is a long answer, but let me get to the point. Let me get to the point is behind the scenes and access are what makes live streaming interesting. People want more time with Rebecca. They want to see what Rebecca's working on, who she's working with, how she makes the cake, or the ingredients that she puts into the soup, or just hanging out with you while you're doing what you're doing instead of just a talking head video, which again, there's nothing wrong with, but there's 10,000 shows like that. The other thing is live selling is really huge. Live shopping stuff like Amazon Live. I think you're going to see that replicated with all sorts of brands. That
Tell us
doesn't.
what that's about. I haven't heard of it yet.
Okay.
This is new to me.
Okay, so I have the ability to live stream on the Amazon platform.
Because you got a book. Right
No, actually, it has nothing to do with the book. It's because I had a certain number of Twitter followers.
Really?
When Twitter was still a platform you could use to get verified as an influencer. But what happens is you join the Associates program, which is like being an Amazon affiliate, and then you can apply to be an influencer. And if they accept you as an influencer, then you can apply to stream on Amazon. So right now there's about 2,000 to 3,000 people who have the right as influencers rather than as, vendors or sellers in terms of having their own products. So I'm not selling because I have a book, because I don't have a shop of that nature. I have like an influencer shop where I share my favorite products, and one of which may be something that I did. But the point of Amazon Live, from Amazon's perspective, is what could be better than getting people who know the products and use the products to actually get on and talk about them to an audience and field questions from the community. So essentially, you're being their shop floor salesperson.
It's like having a curated buyer or a personal shopper. And this does remind me about when you and I first sat down. This was like 3 years ago, and we were doing positioning for you, and you were telling me all about live streaming, the importance of connecting producers and consumers together in this like ecosystem of real time is like nothing you could ever replicate. No stack of postcards that have a slick picture of the product on it will ever do as much as a hands-on real person experience. You were so jazzed about that.
We saw a lot of examples of it during the height of the pandemic, when stores couldn't rely on foot traffic and people coming in, and there were more than a few businesses that saved themselves by live streaming. They may have never thought about it before, but now they were able to connect not only to their local customers who couldn't walk into the physical store, but they were able to get customers from all over the world. And it was a very, very powerful medium for
deep.
them. Now,
deep.
I think it's not just about like, okay, I can make some money on Amazon. I really think that this is going to be a lot of big businesses and big retailers are going to offer live selling, live shopping on their platforms. And once that happens, I would think the commissions would start to come up as it gets more competitive. So I look at Amazon Live as a place to learn the skill set, and two, it's an empty lane because of how few people are live streaming on there versus a YouTube or a Facebook Live. In case of Facebook, the algorithm's probably working against you. You're not supposed to say that, but it is. So it's also, so what I'm saying is it's a less competitive, more visible, highly influential platform because it's a search engine, much like YouTube is and Google is Amazon. So it's a great place to be. And your content doesn't have to be a pitch fest, just product after product after product. Nothing wrong with that. But you could really do an interview with somebody, let's say, who has a product, or talk about a subject that you are interested in, like how you build a show, and then, by the way, here are some products that I considered, and I went with this microphone and this, camera or what have you. And I think, there's a lot of different ways you can bring talk show behind the scenes, all that kind of content to Amazon, and then bring live shopping into it.
Man, I just connected some serious dots with that, RB. Last year, I learned about this thing, which it is a thing, but I just learned about it for the first time from a copywriter I know, Lene Carmichael. And she specializes in post-purchase sequences for people who buy products. So you've bought it already. Now her post-purchase nurtures are all about how do you actually use the thing? How do you apply it to your daily life? How do you use it? How do you integrate this? And I thought that's an amazing touch point that a lot of people aren't thinking about. You buy the product, it's done. Yay. We hope you come back and buy more. Just nurturing that. So I can think about Amazon Live as an opportunity for someone to be like, now tell us how you're using this Yeti microphone, or tell us all about your adventures with your hydro flask in the Serengeti. How long did your water stay cold? How do you actually use products in that format? I think would be a very cool avenue. So that's a rabbit hole.
Great. Yeah, there's a carousel that Amazon requires you to load up with at least a product or two, and you can load up with up to, I don't know, 25, 30 products. They really want you to put those in the carousel, which is under the video window that people are watching, and then highlight them as you're talking about them. So you're totally doing content that's aligned with what the company wants, with what Amazon wants. You can click on that product and highlight, and you can talk to somebody about how they're using it.
Yeah.
Or even just do a demo, because how many times do people buy a product and then not even realize the full range of what it can do, or they struggle to set it up or get started? Things are complicated and they might just push it to the side, and you don't want that. And by helping them, you're then encouraging somebody else to buy it, because you're like, oh, okay, I already know what I would need to do. I've already okay, I can handle this. Okay, I was scared. I didn't know how I would hook this mic up to an interface and run it into the computer. But now that Rebecca showed me how she set hers up, or how you do this workflow, it's like, okay, I can imagine myself doing it. It's not that hard.
The nurture beyond the sale,
right?
For like a 360 experience. Is anybody selling anything on Amazon? I literally do not know. Is anybody selling anything on Amazon that's not product based? Does anyone sell services or consulting or
I'm not
coaching?
sure how you would on Amazon. Everything seems product. Like there's a physical product or a download product, like software or something like that. But that's a great question. That is a great question.
See how live streaming works?
Maybe it's how you package it as well. Like
that's what I was thinking. Like, what if you made what if you want to sell a coaching package and you made a download, and that was the physical thing, but the coaching came with it. So maybe the download costs $10,000. I'm just using a round number, but then so you've worked through the vehicle of Amazon, but in addition to that, there is you're scheduling one-on-one coaching every other week or whatever the package entails.
Amazon has a lot of rules.
I'm sure. I'm sure they do.
So it is a great idea, but they may consider that as like, oh, it's some sort of bonus enticement to get people to buy. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You might be right, and it might not. It's just something that needs to be. Just make sure you're on the right side of the rules, because once you start making money doing something, then they've got rules upon rules upon rules.
Hired goons are knocking at your door.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, wasn't a problem when you weren't making any money, but now you should be selling that for whatever. But I think it's also different with affiliate sales versus your own. So there's all these different rules that you have to look into. But I think it's a very smart idea, and I don't think enough people are thinking about how their physical products could relate or their downloads can relate to their services.
Interesting. Well, maybe we've opened up a whole new niche here, Ross, for sure. This is really a conversation about kind of the future of live streaming,
Mm-hmm.
your opinion. So what I'm hearing is pull back the curtain. What I'm hearing is lean on the platform for its strengths and
Mm-hmm.
stop trying to make it a different medium than it isn't, because you're missing the whole beauty of it.
Right.
Um, and that kind of breaking innovative. And I'm hearing innovative as being maybe a Ross brand prediction for live streaming.
Well, it's always evolving. Let's put it that way. The technology has gotten to the point where when I got started, if you wanted to do something at even the level that we're doing it here, we have a very simple layout, a few lower thirds with our names and companies or show names and a border and such. To do something like this would have required a lot of technical knowledge. Now it requires an account on, in this case we're using StreamYard, but it could be any number of different streaming web-based services, and one of us sending the other one a link and clicking a button to go live and clicking a button to record. And so being good at the tech, while it can have some importance, basically the tools have leveled the playing field to where it's what you bring in terms of your personality, your knowledge. The talent is on what it's an audio medium first and foremost. And that's the other thing that I like to mention is that while there's video, where the value of this is in the audio. It's in our conversation. And so the audio, whether it's in technical sense or it's in terms of what your content is, should always be primary when you're in a certainly when you're in a talking head situation, because if the audio goes out, there's no show. If the video goes out, much of the value that we're delivering can still be delivered.
That's an awesome point. Take 2 minutes to pitch me on StreamYard, because one of the primary reasons I've been building this show, couch surfing on everyone's platform. So I couch surfed with Taylor on Zoom. I couch surfed with Jill and Tony on Riverside. I couch surfed with Paul on Restream. I wanted to couch surf with you here on StreamYard. Why do you love it, and why would you recommend it?
Um, well, StreamYard has three pillars: ease of use, stability, and professional looking streams. And that basically sums it up for me. I can get a guest on with a link. They don't have to download any software. They don't have to sign up for an account. They don't really have to do anything other than click that link and they come into the studio. So it doesn't matter whether they've done this a million times or they've never done it. Stability, they've done their own build where they've got lots of redundancy and lots of ways to make sure whether you're on a weak internet connection or a strong internet connection. I can just count on, like, if you said we're going to go live in 5 minutes, my first thought is, okay, StreamYard will work. For whatever we're going to do, StreamYard's
Mhm.
going to work.
It's the Toyota.
I don't need to, like, refresh my browser because the connections, like, this just works. It looks good. It sounds good. It works. And that's also part of the fact that it's professional. Now, if you want to do everything everything customized, just you want to spend a lot of time building out your shots and your scenes, then you might want something like OBS or Ecamm if you're on a Mac, or vMix if you're on Windows, Wirecast. But for what most people are doing, I think StreamYard's an ideal platform.
What has the most repurposability? Like what? Like the advantage of Riverside is the recording of audio tracks separately, and you can then turn that into a podcast. What has the most repurposing potential?
Well, StreamYard now has, like when I'm recording a show, it not only records it in the cloud, and in the cloud records separate audio tracks for each person. So if there's crosstalk, or,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a vacuum cleaner going on in the background when you're talking or whatever, that will not have to interrupt the show, because I just quiet my track during that point, because they're separate, they're not mixed together. If I want to go that deep, ideally, your first mixed track with everything on it works, and you don't have to do that. StreamYard also gives you local recordings. So while our video is smaller than the full size that we're sending out, StreamYard records from our cameras as well. And so this is the same individual recordings that you would get with Riverside. So when we're done, not only can I download from the cloud a recording that has exactly what the audience is seeing, but a little bit higher quality, because it's before it was streamed from StreamYard to the destination. I get the individual audio and video recordings of each participant in full 1080p high definition. And so it's really great for repurposing, because I can then either just take that shot and make it the whole video. Like if you say something really impactful and I just want to repurpose that, maybe the side by side doesn't work as well as having you center stage, right? And so instead of cutting it out of a small window, right? Or maybe I want to make a Reels, Shorts, TikTok out of it or whatever. So it's better to crop from the full, and then you have a lot of room to crop it into a vertical video. So there's there's a ton of things you can do. Of course, you can take the audio and just make a podcast out of it. If you start, maybe you have to cut off like a little bit of that while you're connecting, and the last couple seconds after, or maybe you don't, and maybe you've gotten it down to where you start right with you get right into the show, and you can literally take that audio file and send it over to a podcast host, and next thing you know, your podcast is distributed. So I'm not sure what you really can't do with most of these tools right now, but I think StreamYard's up the game, where you get both the stability and the benefits of their live streaming capabilities, and now you get the recording capabilities of a Riverside as well.
Paul says that VMix is not for the faint of heart, and Chris wants us to know that Crop Talk is his jam.
Crop Talk.
It's a cool name.
Yeah.
I don't know. The other day I was out, I saw a bunch of moms, and they were all wearing crop top. Crop tops.
I was going to do that, but I decided, the T-shirt's probably a better way to go.
I can see you in a crop top.
Yeah.
R&B. I'm for it. What's a show you wish somebody would make that they're not doing?
That's a good question. I'd like to see more of people actually showing what they do, and less interview. And again, as I said, I watched an interview show last night, and it was phenomenal. I'm not saying that format doesn't work. Chris Stone and Jim Fuse do wonderful interviews on their Dealcaster show on Amazon Live. When everybody was doing pitch fests, they brought the talk show interview format to Amazon Live, and they stood out from really all the other things that people were doing on there. But I'd like to see more like what we're doing here. We're kind of figuring out how to build a new live streaming show. I think this is what people want. They want to look in on something that they wouldn't otherwise see. So again, it's access, it's behind the scenes, it's how to in real time with questions and audience participation. Um, and that audience participation can just be as much as encouragement. It could be, don't do it that way. It could be, why do you do it that way? And you can answer those questions as you go along. And generally, a question somebody has, probably there's 10,000 people who have the same question. And so, again, the chat is the unique differentiator, but I love behind the scenes. Just love the behind the scenes kind of thing. Take me with you. Tell me about what you're doing. Show me it, And I say this as somebody who most of my shows include some type of interview segment.
But you're biased, but you're still into this idea. The only thing that I find frustrating, Ross, is that there just doesn't seem to be any central location to watch a bunch of indie shows or indie creators do their thing. It's either I'm streaming at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on my channel, you're streaming at 11 o'clock on your channel, so-and-so streaming, it's at 12 o'clock on their channel, or however it goes. There doesn't seem to be any kind of central curated repository for independent content. Right?
It doesn't, does there?
No, isn't that interesting? I wonder if somebody has a solution to that problem, Ross. Is it you?
There's a group of creators who are working on launching what we're calling 100 TV, because we'd ultimately like to have 100 creators or more. Right now we have 16 creators, and we're going to be launching a network on a single YouTube channel, and then maybe other distribution points beyond that. But we're starting with a single YouTube channel, and it'll be a place where you can go any time of the day and check out new shows and unique shows that are only on 100 TV.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Hang on the edge of their seats, but this is your original project. Your baby. 100 TV is your thing. So I don't think this is the first time you're dropping this announcement here on the Stone Fruit Roll-Up, because you are also live streaming the development of that project. Tell us how that's going, brother.
We are. It's been interesting. I mean, we've had some real conversations about what it means to have a network and what role the network will play versus the individual creators, how we operate our own. I mean, we have made the network a partnership, a creative partnership, equal partnership among the 16 creators. Eventually, like I say, hopefully it'll be an equal partnership among 100 creators. So then how do we organize that into a business? How do we monetize it? How do we do all the things that you have to do, from messaging and branding and graphics to staying within YouTube's rules, to how do you deliver all that content? What are your deadlines? Like, there's so many different things that go into building a network that if you have to do those things for one person, now you've got to figure out, how do we get 16 or 100 or however many people aligned to do that and hit their mark and all that kind of stuff, so that this flows in both a linear fashion but also as an on-demand channel.
Show us a graphic, baby. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
So we have the thumbnail from our last couple of meetings. You see we have the 16 creators who are on there, and we've been going live weekly for six meetings so far. We're calling it Egos Aside, because we're trying to get the solo creator to put their ego aside a bit and be part of something bigger that opens up new opportunities for additional reach, additional monetization, kind of flipping the script, so to speak, on what the social networks have planned for us, which is each little creator puts their content out there and tries a little bit to monetize, but can't keep up with the volume that the big media brands and the big networks and the celebrities and such, because of their ability and their budgets and their teams to put out a huge volume of content and reach a massive number of people. But what we can do by coming together and combining our efforts and resources and time and content is we can lift everybody by having that single destination to go for exclusive content. And now we can put out at a volume and to the size of an audience that appeals to both the algorithm to keep us front and center and to sponsors who want to reach a larger number of people. So that's the game plan behind 100 TV.
That is so hot. What's your ask for it right now? Are you looking for sponsorship opportunities? Are you looking for talent? Are you looking for both? What are you looking for?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Tell us about some of the shows that you're excited about that are happening on 100 TV.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about your show because Business in the Raw is going to be hot. I mean, it's
not this show, y'all. It's not this show.
But that's going to cover a lot of what we talked about that makes a good live stream show. Pulling back the curtain. People are going to have to come in and be willing to go through the work. And you're going to show people how you do a branding session with them, how you advise them on making that a real part of their business and living it. And so that's one show. If you like wine, we have Drinks with Rick. Rewind, because he's taking segments from the past and he's putting a unique show together that's never been distributed in that fashion, with clips and wine reviews and pairings, but also entertainment segments and humor. And so that's going to be, I think it's going to be a really fun show. Coach Jenny is also doing kind of a pull back the curtain. She's doing a Monday morning Moxie show to get her crowd ready for the week. A lot of interesting shows. Jim Fuse is doing a show on the digital. I think it's Digital Frontier. I gotta remember what the name is. But
oh man, I got it on my notes.
The Digital Frontier, I think. But anyway, he's exploring, the future of marketing and digital media and tech. So that's going to be, it's always cool to stay on the cutting edge. I love the idea that Jeffrey Fitzgerald, 3-time Emmy winner, has talked about doing a game show. We've always seen him in the studio kind of hosting a TV style talk show with his profile show. But man, it would be fun to have game shows and a whole variety of content on the network.
It's so exciting. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. For anyone who's still sticking with us in this live stream, when I reached out to Ross and asked him if he would be on this show to help me figure out how to build it, his answer was yes, but you have to now do either 2 shows or you got to move this one to 100 TV. And I saw there's a tremendous opportunity to create something unique that, now I get to do the pull back the curtain, snarky Business in the Raw concept that I got a little talked off the ledge on episode 2 here. So I'm super excited about it. The thing I'm really stoked about, not that this is all about my show, but the thing I'm really stoked about is I'm going to work with a single entrepreneur over an arc of episodes in a season. So you won't just see like the positioning show where it's like every week someone new comes in and gets a positioning statement. It is the intense work like I would do with a one-on-one private client. So, and our first season, baby, she is so hot. She is magnetic. She is smart. She's energized. She's spiritual. She will. I'm glued to the Zoom screen whenever we're together. So I'm super excited.
Well, I love the seasons idea. I love the fact that there's cliffhangers that you got to come back the next week to see where it goes. It's like using live streaming to create a reality show, but a reality show that's a real show, not a reality show that's a bunch of scenes and scripted stuff and a lot of cutout footage. But it's forget all that craziness. It's something that everybody can actually relate to and everybody needs to do for their business. And at the same time, if you're a part of it, it's going to be fun, it's going to be lively, it's going to be energetic, and you're going to come away with some great insights for your business.
That's my hope, Ross Brand. Thanks for giving me that platform.
Oh, I'm so glad you're a part of this, and you're a part of 100 TV. It's going to be a lot of fun launching this with you and watching as it grows.
You can't get rid of me, Ross Brand.
Yeah, no.
Not if you wanted to. Not if you wanted to. Where can the people find you and 100 TV?
So
give the children a link or a picture.
Sure. So you can find me at livestreamuniverse.com. For 100 TV, would love it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's the best way right now to connect with us. It's youtube.com/@100TV network, all one word. So youtube.com/@100TV network.
And where can people watch Livestream Universe do its thing?
You can go to the Livestream Universe YouTube channel, or you can follow me on Facebook or Twitter. I stream all over the place at different times. So.
I mean, you're a promoting machine.
Amazon Live.
I can't keep up with you.
LinkedIn Live. Wherever there's an ability to go live, I've probably gone live there.
One final question for you.
Sure.
What is going to be your prediction in volume 4 of 100 live stream and digital media predictions?
I don't predict in the book. I gather the people who predict.
If you could, if this were Boss Rand.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're heading into sort of tough times in the economy, in opportunities for creators. So having really unique content, getting good at it, and delivering it consistently is going to be more important than ever. So how is your show different? How are you different? Are you playing into your strengths? Do you understand your strengths? Do you understand who your audience is and what they want from you, and why doing one type of show you may love and doing another type of show you might not love exactly, but do you understand why different audiences react differently to them, where your skill set is, what you're good at, what you can deliver that's unique to the world? And like, this isn't some sort of pie in the sky woo thing. This is what's going to survive in the economy. Can you entertain? Can you inform in a way that, goes beyond what we're seeing from the average? Because as the money contracts, the average creator is going to have a tougher time, I think. And that's why we're doing things like 100 TV, because it's really hard to stand alone and still stand out in the way these platforms are built and the way the creator economy is working right now.
Damn, baby, cut and print, because that's some snackable content. That is beautiful. Well, we still didn't figure out what this show is. I know for sure what your show is on 100, or what my show on 100 TV is, but I still don't know what this one is. So will you come back and help us when we get stuck a little bit down the line?
Of course. Let's figure it out.
They're awesome. You are awesome. Ross
Thanks
Brand,
so much for having me.
No, man. The honor was mine for sure. I think I had more fun on this on this episode of Stone Fruit Roll-Up than ever before. You've set the bar for engagement, and I feel right as rain when I'm with you. So thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure.